Oh, ee.
One of his
Ah,
start and hello, welcome back to the Cricket Nerds podcast. It's been a while, but we're all together, which is grand, and we're basically going to talk about why England are great and why India are also great. So lots to get into, but firstly, England Australia preparation for the 2020 World Cup. England bat first. Joss Butler returns from injury, and it looks like he's never left. What's going on there?
He's just a different class, isn't he? The bit that I really enjoyed was Alex Hales being interviewed afterwards and being like, it was just great to watch him from the other end. And that's an exciting partnership for England. Two people that are in form, two ball strikers from ball one. Joss, who's probably the best T20 batter in the world right now, I'd say. Probably tied with Rizwan or Surya Kumar Yadav or David Warner. There's one star player from each country, isn't there? But just such a quality innings from Josh, making it look absolutely so easy. And Hales too, like that was a really good opening partnership. They really set the tone for England, and it was a high scoring game for Perth. Perth, where the average win is about 180, par was probably about 190. So I think England did well in that game to get out to that 208 mark. Anything above 200 in a T20, you're really in the game. The middle order didn't quite as fire as we would want them. But, you know, Chris Woakes came out and scored a vital 13 off 5, which is exactly what you need for that role. What do you think about the rest of England's batting after Joss and Hales?
like you say, it's a very disappointing actually. I thought, Chris Woakes, that six he hit was massive. Like that was straight out the middle of the bat. That was a beautiful shot. But that was pretty much the highlight. Obviously they wanted to get Stokes a bit of game time, so they put him in at 3, ahead of David Milan. And I felt like he was just trying a bit hard, and I'm worried about Stokes a little with his batting because I feel like he hasn't played T20 for a while. There's a lot of talk about him not being fast enough, just not being made for T20, and that could result in him trying too hard, just kind of getting in his own head a bit, and yeah, just not playing his natural game, which he should trust. So he went out, very soft dismissal. He got some runs. Most of it came from an edge. So that was disappointing. And then, yeah, the rest of them just quite soft dismissals, I thought, just holding out for the most part. And yeah, that was basically the story of England's batting. The top order did the job. It kind of read like a Pakistan scorecard, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
With Babar and Rizwan doing the job at the top. Definite highlight for Australia though is Nathan Ellis, because that was incredible. Like everybody else going at over 9s, and he's there going at 5 and over, taking 3 huge wickets, and just bowling really well despite everybody else. Does he get into that World Cup squad? There's a question.
The way he bowled today, I think he should, because I know Australia weren't necessarily first choice bowlers. Like you don't see Mitchell Stark there, you don't see Pat Cummins, you don't see Josh Hazlewood. But Nathan Ellis just bowled very well. Like he bowled, I think the key was he bowled pace off. He read the conditions well. And it was very hard for England to hit the ball against him. He had the first over went for a few runs. I think he went for over 10 in his first over. So to only concede 20 overall is ridiculous. And he picked up some key wickets. He picked up Butler. He picked up Moeen Ali, who we know what he's like at the end of an innings. Sam Curran just played a terrible shot. But yeah, it was just hard to get away, which was really impressive. Poor Cameron Green got hit for 4 or 5 boundaries off the first over of the innings. Joss Butler just absolutely tonking him all over the place, which was nice to watch. But then when we come to Australia's batting, although we got the early wicket, it seemed like Australia could have crossed the line at one point with David Warner batting the way he was.
It was at a few points actually. It was actually a really exciting game because it kept on flipping to each team. England obviously had the upper hand to begin with, defending over 200. But David Warner looked in great touch. He is probably the best opener at the moment in terms of form. And I'm the only reason I'm not putting Buttler in that is because he hasn't really played that much recently. They played a very good knock today, but Warner's been consistently very good for Australia. And it looked like he was going to take them over the line again. Mitch Marsh again at 3. It's good to see. He wasn't bowling, but when he is, that's him and Stoinis really offer utility there. Stoinis played really well. But the difference, and we'll go on to Matthew Wade, that whole saga. But the difference today for me was Mark Wood, because the guy was bowling absolute wheels. It was so fast, and it made the difference. It was that X factor for England.
I think there was a lot of talk coming into this T20 about how the fast bowlers, Australian fast bowlers, so Stark, Cummins, Hazelwood, all of whom can bowl 90 miles an hour easily, hadn't travelled across the country in order to play this T20. And there was a bit of talk about how, is that right? Is that, showing the appropriate dedication? Like, they'll fly across the country and play back-to-back games in the IPL, for example, when they're all earning millions of dollars, but when they're on international duty. And the argument back to that is, well, look at England. They didn't send all their X factor players out straight away. There's rest and rotation. They want to manage that injury risk. And like, if Australia want to win the World Cup, Mitchell Starc, Pat Cummins, Josh Hazlewood, and Adam Zampa will be a big part of that. Like, they will be one of the reasons why they win that. Like, as they say, batsmen win you matches, bowlers win you championships. And England are still trying to get their bowlers, fighting fit. Like, you can see, like, Ben Stokes was bowling a bit today. Sam Curran, Chris Wokes, Mark Wood, all of them coming back from an serious injury over the past couple of years. So I think it was just important that there was that difference in the game. Like, Australia, weren't firing out there with their best 11, but no matter what 11 you throw out and what bowling attack you throw out, that top 6 of England are always going to be able to score runs no matter what, just because of how deep they bat.
Yeah. I think one thing that England kind of have to watch out for is this gung-ho approach of going from ball one. I think we see it a few times with England where they get to a really good position where you could really dominate, and they don't, because the batsmen coming in almost feel like, oh, we need to keep going. And then they get stuck a bit trying to smack it from ball one. And I think that's a dangerous approach, because that's how you get those middle to lower order collapses. And I think England should have won by a bigger margin, because Australians bowling wasn't full strength, even though Nathan Ellis did bowl really well. It wasn't full strength, and England could have scored more. They should have got 220. And to let Australia get 200, I think that England kind of gifted a few runs. And if you look at David Warner's dismissal, he gifted England his wicket, really. He just toe-ended it, and it wasn't really a full flow of the bat. So, yeah, I think England were a bit fortunate in some areas, so they've just got to be careful. I do think, though, looking ahead to the World Cup, having Ben Stokes there as the tournament winner that we know he is, the big match player that we know he is, I feel like when it's the games where it's 150 plays 160, those sorts, Stokes is the man to have in that role, because he's not going to be smacking the ball all over the place. He's going to play the calculated innings in that case, and that's where you want Ben Stokes. So yeah, although you want Moeen Ali to score you a quick 550 in a 200 run plus game, I feel like Ben Stokes is good in those shorter run games. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I thought he bowled really well, actually. And that was kind of where he got his utility. He showed that he is that all-rounder that we know he is. And it was really good to see him bowl. Really good to see him bowl well. So that's definitely a glimmer of hope. And I think you're right. And I think those the 140, 150, 160 matches, that's where you win the tournament. Those are the points of difference. You don't necessarily win it in we just smashed 228. We've defended it very easily. That obviously helps, and that's brilliant. But it's the close fought ones. They're the difference. And I think you're absolutely right. Ben Stokes will do really well. Can we talk about the fact that Mark Wood bowling so fast? He gets Matthew Wade to basically, I think he edged the ball onto his helmet, which then ballooned right up. And Mark Wood sprints to him to try and catch it, and then is kind of blocked in his way. And then when the ball drops, Wood then tries to sprint to the ball to run him out because Matthew Wade's kind of in no man's land. And Wade holds him back with his arm, very obviously obstructing the field. And the umpire turns to Buttler, the captain, and says, do you want to appeal? And Buttler very wisely says no. Because in that moment, Buttler won the game because he got the moral victory and also he got the excuse. Because if Wade took them over the line, he could have just said, well, yeah, I mean, if he hadn't obstructed the field, we'd have won. So it was an absolute stroke of genius from Buttler. And that's why he's the best captain that England could have at this moment.
You know what it was? If it wasn't for that moment when, if Wade had got out then, would Warner have played a stupid shot to deep point 2 balls later? Maybe not. And that's a game-winning point. Just on that, I've rewatched it, and having said that about, there being an obstruction in the field and him being impeded, looking at the actual footage, I don't think that Mark Wood had a genuine chance of actually catching the ball. I don't think he'd have got there anyway.
It wasn't for the catch, though. It was for the run out that he was obstructed.
But I don't think he'd have got there anyway. And it looked like initially what Wade had done was throw his arm out to balance himself to turn around. But as you say, left it there for a bit too long.
I genuinely think
cheating Aussies. That's what we always say. Cameron Green was out in the second over, blatantly edged it, didn't walk. It's those things in these style of games. Warner's a cheat. That's the thing. They're all cheats. But maybe I'm a little bit harsh here. But I think from that, it did show that it was the right spirit of the game there from Josh Buttler, showing that level of fair play. And if we had a KTM Fair Play Award, Josh Buttler would be the
15 points to England. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I definitely don't think Wade did it on purpose.
No.
But I think anybody that gets hit on the head by a 95-mile-an-hour bouncer is not going to really be that aware of what they're doing. And I think that's what happened. Now, I want to move on, if that's all right with you boys, to another big match that happened today, which was the second ODI between South Africa and India. Now, this is India's B team, realistically, but their B team is full of an absolute array of all-stars. We're talking Shikhar, we're talking Shubbers, we're talking Shrey, and my boy Sanju. These are huge players.
Don't forget Washi.
Oh, and Washi. Of course, and the Lord Thakur. Yeah. So, we've got absolutely tons of brilliant players here. And I thought it was very impressive from India. So, Zach, what were your thoughts, first of all, on South Africa's batting performance?
It was too slow. That's the summary, really. It wasn't. There were no fireworks. There was no one putting in the impetus to take you to the 300 plus score, which is what you want, even if you play an India B team, which we know is full of talent. Like if you look at Reza Hendricks innings, 74 off 76, playing the anchor role at number 3, that's what you want. But then Aidan Markram with 79 off 89, that's too slow. He wants to be scoring 90 off 89. And there was no, it didn't look like they were in a rush, is my problem with South Africa. They were 40 for 2 off 10 overs. Like, that's not good enough at this level. That probably 278 for 7 10 years ago in one-day cricket. That's an awesome score. But nowadays, you want to be pushing on a bit. I'm not taking anything away from the way they batted, because they looked good. And David Miller as well. He came in and finished it off. But again, he was too slow, 35 off 34. When he's in the form that he's in, he should be scoring double that off 34 balls. But Mohammad Siraj, I mean, I don't know, Benj, do you want to talk about India's bowling? Because Mohammad Siraj was very impressive today.
I do. And the point I want to make about India's bowling is I think it was a bowler-friendly track. And I think it looked like it was a difficult track to bat on. I mean, Siraj has an economy of 3.8. Like, 40 for 2 off 10 overs is a score that we'd be happy with in Division F of the South North Cricket League. Like, that would be a great score. That's a great first 10 going at 4 and over. And as you say, when you look at the strike rates for India and South Africa, that's really the marked difference. You look at South Africa and only 2 people are over 100. No one's over 120. Same for South Africa. Same for India. Sorry, no one's striking it over 120. But Shubman Gill, Ishan Kishan, and Shreyas Iyer are all at that over 100 mark. So they're just doing that little bit extra, running a little bit harder. James, talk us through Ishan Kishan and Shreyas Iyer?
Yeah, it was brilliant. Ishan Kishan was absolutely livid with himself that he didn't get his ton, because, I mean, it was a very soft dismissal that he gave himself. And it was very unnecessary. But for the guy to be playing 7 sixes in that innings, he was going at it. He was really, he was hitting the ball hard. And to say he's 3 foot, it's very, very impressive when he does it. But I thought Shreyas Iyer played a perfect ODI innings. 113 off 111. That is like, Zach was saying about a few years ago, that's what you want. That is just a beautiful innings. Got them over the line, not out. Brilliant for the average. It was very satisfying to see. Not a single 6. So, risk averse as well, which is what we love to see. But yeah, I thought South Africa bowled all right, but just not quite well enough. And I think Zach diagnosed the problem pretty well. They just didn't put runs on the board in the first place, and credit has to go to Siraj for that, I think. But yeah, overall, it was a decent game. South Africa will be disappointed because they need more points, I think, to get into the World Cup. I think that's what they're aiming for. They're really struggling. They're languishing in the table. If I just get it up quickly, they're in 11th place at the moment, just above Zimbabwe and Netherlands. They're currently below Sri Lanka, Ireland, West Indies, Afghanistan, etc. So they're not doing so well. So hopefully they can win the remainder. But again, it's entertaining, and I love seeing India B team do well, because any of those players could get into the India squad at some point. It's such a strong team. There's such a wealth of talent. So it's exciting to see them, because at any given time, somebody could get swapped out for bad form, and you'll see Shreyas Iyer, Ishan Kishan, or Sanju Samson come in and be that replacement. So
I'm still frustrated though, because if you remember from our IPL videos, Sanju Samson is a massive frustration of mine, because he's got all the talent, but for India, he doesn't necessarily perform. And Shreyas Iyer, I know he's been performing for India, but at the same time, he's still one of those players that looks so class when he's batting. You're like, he should be one of the best in the world. He should be the name everyone's talking about, like the next Virat Kohli almost. And he's not quite there. So, although he's played amazingly today, I just don't think South Africa have the one-day class that a lot of other teams do. And it's hard for South Africa because they end up just playing all the good one-day teams. They need to play Ireland to show that they are better than Ireland and should be higher in the table than Ireland. So, yeah, they'll get there eventually because they're not a terrible team.
I really think it's harsh for South Africa to currently be playing a ODI series when the World Cup starts next week.
Yeah, it's a bit weird, isn't it?
For T20, it just seems like they've really had a scheduling nightmare there.
Yeah.
And then they're like, we've just been thrashing the T20s. Now we're being forced to play. They should have done like in England and Pakistan and play 7 T20s rather than 3 and 3. Because now they're all in ODI mode and they're going to come in having to play T20 straight away.
Well, you could look at the positive, which is that they can see it as time in the middle, build up their confidence. Like Markram will be confident now because he scored 70 odd in 89 balls. He spent time in the middle, so that helps, doesn't it? So
I feel like it's different skills though, different bowling. I get what you mean. It's time in the middle. It's getting runs against your name. It's just going to be interesting to see how they fare when they come into the T20 setup, and it's like the bowling is different. It's a slower ball every other ball. Like it's not as much of line length. Anyway, that is what it is. We'll see how it goes. We're excited for the World Cup. We've got some great things coming soon, so keep staying tuned to Cricket Nerds. Keep subscribing. Thank you all for your support so far. We're loving it. We're going somewhere. Who knows where, but it's going to be somewhere. Your support is great. Tell all your friends to watch. We're going to bring you some great World Cup coverage. We've got some great other things planned down the line. Thanks for watching the short of me getting bowled. Swinging a heinous heave across the line. Thanks for having a look at that. And yeah, anything else around the view, boys, before we finish off?
Subscribe, like, comment, leave us some questions. We're missing the CNQ. We're missing the Benji jingle that we had. So let's get some of that going.
About that.
Yeah.
We need some cricketers. Yeah, leave us some cricketers questions. Maybe we'll do that at the start of the next video. Some cricketers questions.
Cool. And thanks for watching. We hope you've enjoyed, and we'll see you later.